I cry a lot. That's it. End of video. For real though, One Piece is often seen as a goofy, happy show, which, well, it is. However, there are moments of One Piece that are just pure depression. Moments that, well, made me cry. And today I'll be talking about what I consider the saddest moments in all of One Piece. First and foremost, let's talk about Nami. Nami's backstory was the first thing in One Piece that made me bawl. Mostly because I was scared of Arlong's nose. But for real, Nami's backstory is one of the saddest things in the history of One Piece. Seeing her suffer all those years, all alone, as the people who loved her were taken away from her, is something that makes me cry every time I think about it. Except for right now, when I'm thinking about it. And not crying. Huh? Nami's story was heartbreaking for the first time we saw it. We saw how she constantly carries all the burden upon her back and prefers to fly solo. She doesn't ask the villagers for help once and decides to work by herself to save the village, even if it means years of suffering. To be in vicinity with this guy must have been hell. All of this is what makes the iconic "Luffy help me" line so much more impactful. It was the first time Nami's ever asked for help, and it was one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the show. Luffy stopping her from stabbing herself, placing the hat on her, and seeing her ask for help. It's truly one of the greatest scenes in One Piece history. And that was also the first time I cried at One Piece. I didn't know trying to finish Syrup Village. That shit was so boring. Next, in chronological order, let's talk about the Buster Call on Ohara. The Buster Call is one of the most tragic moments in One Piece, and it's one of the saddest things to occur till this day, as genocides usually are. Watching one of the most successful group of people in the show perish at the hands of tyranny and corruption is one of the saddest things in One Piece. That, combined with the entire Angry Fireboy situation, makes this one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the show. But that isn't what quite made me cry. What truly made me cry was when Robin met her mother and said the words, "Are you my mom?" Motherly love is hard to find in One Piece, and seeing a mother meet her kid after years of neglection is heartbreaking, especially since Olivia knew she was gonna die, knew that all of them were gonna die. It broke my heart, that along with the, death of Saul. Moving on, let's talk about the moment that made me cry most. Even now, rewatching it makes me sob like a One Piece fan when they have to go outside. And that is, of course, the iconic "I Want to Live" scene. Honestly, personal reasons aside, this scene probably made everyone cry. Watching a character who was told to die her entire life finally being proud of wanting to live made me, well, I used a lot of tissues to wipe my tears. Not because Honestly, the scene was my first time I truly fell in love with One Piece. Before that, I was watching purely on the knowledge that it would get good, but watching that part of the show changed everything for me. The voice acting, the arc before, everything was so perfect, and of course, it delivered on that setup. Honestly, this is arguably one of the saddest scenes in all of anime, except for one more on the list, so keep watching for that, I guess. But overall, this was the greatest moment of One Piece for me, and without it, I wouldn't be here. Next, we have the end of a ship. No, not like that. I mean, yes, that ship's dead, but you get what I mean. The Mary's funeral was something that made me cry, even though I never really had an attachment with Mary. Weird, right? The Mary to me was just a ship, and I didn't really think I'd ever cry over a ship, but not like that, god damn it. The Mary's death was a sad scene for all One Piece fans, and honestly, it made me cry. I remember tearing up as I watched the Mary burn on the ocean, which still confuses me, but it's okay. Next on this list is the saddest backstory in my opinion, and that of course is Brook's. Watching his backstory made me want to cry, almost as much as panty jokes do. Watching him and his crew singing themselves to death was the scene that really broke me. It was sad in every sense of the word, and watching Brook be left alone at the end still makes my throat choke up. Choke up? Swallow up? You know what I mean. Watching Brook dream of his crew for 50 years straight and then opening eyes to his crew not being there. But he doesn't have eyes. Okay. I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. Following Brook's backstory, we have a lot of things in one go. First thing, Marie Joie. More specifically, watching Luffy break down when he and his crew were split apart. You know, it's not every day that we see our normal, happy protagonist break down. Watching Luffy for the first time say, "We have to run, don't fight," truly is what made this so deep. Prior to this, Luffy always ran in headfirst, but this was the first time he realized his enemy could kill them, and that they had to run. And also, it was heartbreaking seeing him try to warn all of his crew. Watching all of them being taken away right in front of Luffy's eyes made me break down. While he broke down, I broke down too. It was mutual breaking down. Like, me and Luffy, we cried together. True homies. Next in line is, well, surprisingly, Luffy cries again. But Krispy Kreme made me cry a lot. But honestly, not actually. Alright, this one's complicated, so stay with me for a second. Watching Ace actually die wasn't the sad part. In fact, he kinda deserved it. Watching him let his emotions take control of him over and over again and act without rationale made me, well, conflicted. His death was sort of brought upon himself. By him. However, watching him use those last breaths to save Luffy and thank everyone for loving him made me cry harder than Naruto fans try not to mention One Piece. Watching Luffy break down as well is what made this infinitely more difficult to watch. The voice acting was top tier, and seeing Luffy cry, seeing him say, "You promised me you wouldn't die," I just couldn't deal with it. Even though I already knew that it was happening because the title of the episode is more revealing than Zoro's outfit, it still hit hard. Speaking of hitting hard, let's talk about Dadan hitting Garp hard. This is, in my opinion, the saddest scene not only in One Piece, but in all of anime. It managed to capture so many important themes of One Piece in one single scene. Garp's conflict within himself because he struggles to support his job or his family, a mother's anguish at the loss of her child, the anger she feels that Garp wasn't there. This was a perfect scene. It made me cry a lot, and I hope it did the same to you, as it was genuinely really good. Watching Dadan forget about her fear of Garp and begin to beat him up, so sad. It brought back the question Garp will have to answer one day: family or work. He wasn't there for his family once. He can't do it again. Overall, the scene was, in my opinion, perfect in every way, and I hope you guys realize how amazing this scene is. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite pervert, Sanji. Sanji breaking down in Whole Cake Island is one of the hardest things I've ever had to watch. I never thought I'd feel bad for well, whatever this is. Yet here I am, watching a man lose everything he's had, everything that made him happy. It's heartbreaking. He lost his crew, but hey, at least he had a wife. His last ray of hope was pudding, and then it crashed down harder than his popularity during Fishman Island. It's a really heartbreaking scene watching him try to light a lighter through his tears in the rain. Not only is he depressed as hell, but he also has lung cancer. Truly tragic. Overall though, Sanji breaking down also led me to break down, which is surprising because I don't usually do the stuff Sanji does. The final moment that made me cry, well, it wasn't quite from sadness. Roger reaching Laugh Tale. It made me cry harder than most scenes on here. Watching something we have been looking forward to for so long play out right before our eyes is truly a spectacle. Watching him reach Laugh Tale, the Fable Island, while the first opening played in the background, I cried hard. Almost as hard as I did every time he came on screen. Overall though, that's it for me. Thank you.